We are at the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championship 2024, where Magnus Carlsen is about to take on a very strong 2600 rated GM, Alexander Shimanov from Russia. At the moment, Magnus is not at the board, but that does not change the fact that this is going to be quite a challenge for Magnus to face. There comes Magnus, shakes his opponent's hands, asks his opponent to start the clock, and like in his pre-game ritual, before making any move, Magnus first decides to adjust all of his pieces. Magnus opens the game with the English opening pawn to c4, g6 by Shimanov, the Great Snake, e4, shadowing the bishop. Magnus takes control over the full center, with pawn to d6 transposing into the modern defense, knight to f3. And if you don't know what to do against this modern setup of bishop to g7, then obviously you're going to struggle. Thankfully, Magnus is not that guy. Shimanov strikes in the center with pawn to e5. Magnus brings out the other knight. Shimanov does the same, and Magnus makes a very instructive maneuver. He first plays bishop to g5, gaining a tempo on the queen, enticing black to play f6, and only now he plays bishop e3. That way, the g7 bishop becomes very, very bad for black. So this is a very instructive idea for Magnus. And here Shimanov needs to figure out the plan to develop his pieces. He does so by playing knight to h6, and Magnus quickly trades a pair of pawns in the center. Here Shimanov needs to decide with which of the two pawns he wants to take. Taking with the f pawn retains the queens on the board. Meanwhile, taking with the d pawn offers Magnus to go into an endgame. And he decides to take with the d pawn offers Magnus to go into an endgame, which Magnus accepts. Now I don't know how far this decision is true, because Magnus is unfortunately the greatest endgame player, and if you make a single mistake, you're doomed. h3, stopping any knight to g4 ideas. Knight f7, Magnus plays c5, gaining space in the queen side and also stopping any knight to d6 nonsense in the future. And the biggest problem in this position for Shimanov is that his rooks are not active. He needs to make a plan work so that he can get those rooks into the game. Meanwhile, it is very easy for white to develop pieces with tempo. And that's exactly what he does. He plays king to c8, and Magnus quickly plays bishop c4, gaining a tempo on the knight. Now the knight needs to move away. He plays knight f to d8. And here, how can Magnus continue? What plan is going to be the best? He plays rook to d2 with the simple idea of doubling rooks on the d file. Bishop to e6. And the problem with rook takes d8 is that it doesn't work because knight takes d8 just defends the bishop. So Magnus should go knight to d5. That's the best move. And he finds it. Knight d5. Rook e8 quickly played by Shimanov. And now Magnus could probably double up rooks on the d file. That's exactly what he does. Knight f7, Shimanov blunders. Knight takes c7 is now completely winning for Magnus because the tactics are working in his favor. But he misses, plays pawn to g4. And now taking the knight back to d8 is the best way for Shimanov to continue and hope for the best. But he blunders again, and knight takes c7 is still winning. I think Magnus has realized that what has his Grandmaster opponent done? He's in complete disbelief. And he spots it, knight takes c7. And wow, look at this. The problem with king takes c7 is bishop takes, rook takes, and now comes rook d7 check, and all the pieces are just falling. The other problem, if you decide to take the bishop, there's knight takes e8, and Magnus is going to be up the exchange and completely winning the game. So resigning might be the best option for Shimanov because he has just realized the disaster that has struck him. That's exactly what he does. He offers his hand in resignation. Magnus just completely obliterated a Grandmaster in just 18 moves.